Okay, so this is part two of our slides on counter arguments, and this is just going to be generally about how to establish credibility. That's also sometimes called ethos. If you think about ethos, logos, and pathos, you may have heard those before. That stands for credibility, logic, and emotion. And credibility is based not just on counter arguments, although that's part of it. So let's try the slides here. We go first, make sure you're using credible sources. So sources that are well written, sources that are edited for facts to make sure that they're recording and reporting accurately. You can look at some websites or news organizations like Fox News, which has a conservative bent, or MSNBC, which has kind of a liberal bent. Huffington Post has kind of got Hollywood gossip in it. And those are okay to use as well, but it will build credibility if you identify them as being liberal or conservative in their bent. So if you wanted to use something from Fox News, you could say from the conservative news site, or MSNBC from the liberal news site. Wikipedia has its own set of challenges, but me and Ken Zontek, I think, might be the only people at YVC that are okay with Wikipedia. It's up to you. You have to kind of determine for yourself whether those are good sources or not. Second, make sure you respect the reader by stating the opposition accurately. There's something called a straw man, where people way exaggerate the other side, which makes them easy to push over, just like a straw man that's set up and easily knocked down. So there's a little bit of a straw man fallacy with a little more definition. I'm not going to stop and show it to you, but one famous example of a straw man is the called Godwin's Law, where whatever you disagree with, you compare to Hitler or to Nazis. So you can see right there, probability of Nazi-Hitler comparison, and the length of discussion, it goes up to almost 100%. Nazis always show up sooner or later. For instance, let's talk about presidential politics. And we can go back through history. The 45th president of the United States has been compared to Hitler. So is the 44th president of the United States. So is the 43rd president of the United States. So has the 42nd president of the United States, and obviously the almost 45th president of the United States. We got a 2-for-1 deal with the Clintons. If we skip George H.W. Bush, we get to the 40th president of the United States, Ronald Reagan. We go back to the 39th president. There's Jimmy Carter being compared to Hitler. There's Nixon being compared to Hitler. And as I noted, we skipped Gerald Ford and George W. Bush. They were both one-term presidents, and it kind of dies out after Nixon because I think it gets too close to Hitler, actually. But the idea is, of course we don't like Hitler. Of course we don't like Nazis. So calling the counter argument Nazis or Hitler makes it very easy to push over. It's a classic straw man argument. Next, don't do that. And we want to have them really be established as strong arguments on the other side. It'll make your argument even better. Another way of establishing credibility is to build common ground. And a lot of times you'll do this in the very first paragraph. It can be a kind of way, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like the so what, who cares statements, where you say we can all agree on this, or we all worry about taxes, or we're all concerned about our education in the future. So building common ground often in the first paragraph is a way of adding credibility to your essay. Next, if appropriate for the assignment, you should disclose why you're interested in the topic or what personal experiences you've had with the topic. So for instance, in our first essay, it might be that your parents or you personally have been displaced by automation or by robots. That would be a really good thing to disclose. And it can work both ways. One side makes you think, well, you might be biased because you've been influenced or affected by it. But on the other side, people might say you have additional credibility. And I think that's the side that you should trust, additional credibility, because you've been through it yourself. So if you're a young student and you're talking about robot-proof education, you might identify that you're a college student, you're worried about education. That will build credibility because you would have firsthand experience. Fifth, make sure to proofread your argument. A lot of careless mistakes end up costing you credibility, probably more than they should. People get really upset about proofreading mistakes. But it does show that maybe we shouldn't take you seriously because you're not taking this assignment seriously. So make sure that you have properly proofread your papers. All right. Next will be about how to find a counter argument.